Good afternoon. The Senate Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure is called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chairwoman Geis.
Present.
Senator Kleinfeld.
Here.
Senator Voino.
Here.
Senator Hertel.
Here.
Senator Chang.
Here.
Senator McCann. Senator Bellino. Senator McBroom. Senator Victory.
Here.
Senator Bumstead.
Here.
Madam Chairwoman, you have 8 members present. There is a quorum.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to adopt the October 28th, 2025 committee meeting minutes. Motion made by Senator Bumstead. I saw his hand first, sorry. Without objection, the minutes are adopted. I also will make a motion to excuse the absent members, and being no objection, absent members are excused. I want to thank everyone for being here and being patient with us, particularly as we are not meeting on our normal date and time. Today, we are going to take up 2 bills and vote them out. We already heard testimony on them. We're taking up Senate Bill 507, which we heard testimony on during our October 28th meeting. Senate Bill 507 is the next of kin plate sponsored by Senator Lowers, and it would create a new plate for the family, the next of kin of a person who died serving in the armed forces. Senator Hertel is offering an amendment to the bill. Senator, would you please explain your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In discussions with the department, I believe agreed to by Senator Lowers as well, this just changed the effective date to 180 days from 90, so the department has enough time to implement.
Thank you. Do members have any questions about the bill? Do we have any, and we have no one scheduled to speak? Do we have any cards in support? Or, okay, thank you. So I need a motion to entertain a motion to adopt the Hertel amendment to Senate Bill 507. Motion made by Senator Hertel. Will the clerk please call the question?
Chairwoman Geis.
Yes.
Senator Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Senator Voino.
Yes.
Senator Hertel.
Yes.
Senator Chang.
Yes.
Senator McCann.
Yes.
Senator Bellino. Senator McBroom. Senator Victory.
Yes.
Senator Bumstead.
Yes.
Madam Chairwoman, you have 8 yeas and 0 nays. The amendment is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to go at ease for a moment so that we can have our vice chair up here so that he doesn't miss a vote. So we will be at ease at call of the chair. Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure shall be turned to order. Now that we have adopted the S1 of Senate Bill 507, I will now entertain a motion to report Senate Bill 507 as amended as a clean substitute to the floor with the recommendation the bill then pass. Motion made by Senator Victory. Will the clerk please call the question?
Chairwoman Geis?
Yes.
Senator Kleinfeld? Yes. Senator Voino?
Yes.
Senator Hertel? Yes. Senator Chang? Yes. Senator McCann? Yes. Senator Bellino? Senator McBroom? Senator Victory?
Yes.
Senator Bumstead?
Yes.
Madam Chairwoman, you have 8 yeas and 0 nays. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Our next bill that we will be voting out is Senate Bill 532, which we also heard testimony on during our last meeting. This bill, sponsored by Senator John Sherry, amends the Michigan Vehicle Code to allow active duty members of the U.S. Armed Forces to be issued special registration plates from the Secretary of State. Do we have any questions from committee members on this bill? And do we have any cards to read in? All right. Seeing no cards and no further testimony, I will entertain a motion to report Senate Bill 532 to the floor with recommendation that the bill then pass. Motion made by Senator Kleinfeld. Will the clerk please call the question?
Chairwoman Geis?
Yes.
Senator Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Senator Voino?
Yes.
Senator Hertel?
Yes.
Senator Chang?
Yes.
Senator McCann? Senator Bellino?
Yes.
Senator McBroom? Senator Victory?
Yes.
Senator Bumstead?
Yes.
Madam Chairwoman, you have 9 yeas and 0 nays. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Do you want to do a reconsider, motion to reconsider?
Yes. Would we like to do a motion to reconsider by way of the passage of Senate Bill 507 as amended? So moved by Senator Kleinfeld. Without objection, the vote is reconsidered. So we will be voting out Senate Bill 507. I will take a motion, entertain a motion to report out Senate Bill 507 as amended as a clean substitute to the floor with the recommendation that the bill then pass. Motion made by Senator Bumstead. Will the clerk please call the question?
Chairwoman Geis?
Yes.
Senator Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Senator Voino?
Yes.
Senator Hertel?
Yes.
Senator Chang?
Yes.
Senator McCann? Senator Bellino?
Yes.
Senator McBroom? Senator Victory?
Yes.
Senator Bumstead?
Yes.
Madam Chairwoman, you have 9 yeas and 0 nays. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I do want to acknowledge that we do have members who are also on Reg Affairs, which is meeting simultaneously, and they are also having votes today. So members who do need to leave for committee, please do so when you need to. Thank you. Okay, our next part of today's committee hearing we have a presentation regarding, we just lost a lot of members, so I apologize for that. We were not expecting today to be so unusual. We have a presentation regarding the federal government shutdown that was recently ended and the impact that it has had on air travel. At this time, I would like to invite up Captain Justin Berg and First Officer Logan Woods, who are pilots with the Airline Pilots Association. Gentlemen. And there is at the base of the microphone to the right of it, there's a little button that you can press and that will turn the mic on. And thank you both for being here, and you may begin when you are ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Geis and members of the committee. My name is Logan Woods from Grand Rapids, and I'm a first officer for Delta Airlines based in Detroit. Joining me is Captain Justin Berg from Brighton, who is also a Detroit-based Delta pilot. We'd like to thank you for the opportunity to provide you with the perspective of the Airline Pilots Association and our 80,000 commercial airline pilot members. ALPA is the world's largest pilots union, as well as the world's largest non-governmental aviation safety organization. ALPA is a trusted voice at the national and international level regarding aviation safety. Whether we're ensuring that all commercial aircraft maintain at least 2 well-rested and well-trained pilots on the flight deck, or continuing our decades-long push to install secondary barriers on commercial aircraft to help decrease the likelihood of another 9/11 style attack, safety is our top priority. During the entirety of this government shutdown, ALPA pilots stood in solidarity with our brothers and sisters at the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, with transportation security officers, and with all of the federal workers who are continuing to work without a paycheck to keep our aviation system safe and secure. As ALPA President Captain Jason Ambrosi stated nearly a month ago, quote, "The job of keeping aviation safe and secure is tough on an easy day, but forcing them to do it without pay undermines the safety and security of our entire system." We are at a critical moment in aviation safety, and we need our leaders to be focused on the necessary infrastructure and staffing improvements, end quote. At the federal level, with the shutdown ended, that means removing air traffic controllers from the discretionary budget so that their jobs and the training pipeline of future controllers are not harmed by future shutdowns. It took too long, but we are pleased that the shutdown is finally over. And we have long said that FAA operations, including the workforce, should be outside of the congressional appropriations process. This level of unpredictability is unacceptable for the people who we trust to keep our skies safe. I'd like to tell you about my experience flying passengers during this shutdown. First and foremost, I can confirm that my air traffic control partners performed professionally and with the expertise that I rely on every time I operate my aircraft. The TSA employees also continued to screen passengers and crew efficiently, both in Detroit and at airports across the country. They have worked tirelessly, and we have the utmost confidence in them. For nearly 2 months, air traffic controllers and other federal aviation workers have needlessly suffered as a result of the gridlock in Washington. The stressors on those workers have introduced risk into the system. Last night, the Federal Aviation Administration announced the cancellation and replacement of an emergency order on limitations on the use of navigable airspace. Originally, on November 5th, the FAA announced capacity cuts on airlines operating to and from the highest-use airports, including Detroit Metro Airport. The new order from last night freezes in place the current capacity restraints on flights at a 6% reduction relative to the original federal order. This means that the original plans to phase in increases will end, but the FAA will lock in the current capacity cuts for affected airports, including Detroit. They will then determine when it is safe to ramp back up. For Detroit and nationwide, the shortage of controllers and the FAA order caused delays and cancellations. This led to misconnections and unnecessary risk. For example, I was flying on Sunday morning during the first measurable snow, and early in the morning there was one single ground controller in Detroit managing traffic on the ground during the first major de-icing event of the season. This ground controller had to guide planes into the de-icing queues during reduced visibility while contending with runway closures to clear the snow, as well as managing the timing delays for planes going to various airports with staffing limits. The exasperation in his voice was palpable. Elsewhere, I have seen numerous delays and cancellations due to the shutdown. Just recently, I have seen extended takeoff wait times in Las Vegas due to limited staff available to control departures, and I have seen entire departure corridors closed out of the New York airports, meaning all departures in those directions were held on the ground until they had staffing available on their route. But perhaps the best example comes from Atlanta, the busiest airport in the world, where Saturday saw a weather event that was made unmanageable due to staffing that dropped the arrival rate to just 30 airplanes per hour. With 5 runways, Atlanta is capable of executing triple simultaneous landings, and at its peak is capable of well over 200 operations per hour, which includes takeoffs and landings. As expected, this slowdown led to holding, diversions, problems with flight crew duty limits, and cancellations that reverberated for days, in a scenario where normal staffing would allow relatively quick resumption of operations after the weather event ended. I'd also like to note that what we call normal staffing is still understaffed, as the FAA's own numbers show a shortage of nearly 3,000 controllers, and that was before the shutdown. As pilots, I can assure you that we don't like delays more than anyone else, but we are trained to deal with ATC slowing traffic, and it is a regular occurrence. The flying public should be reassured that for each and every pilot, their safety is our #1 priority, and we operate to that standard on every flight, at every airport, capacity constraints or not. ALPA appreciates the opportunity to share our perspective, and as a Michigan-based pilot, I would also like to thank you for working with ALPA and the Michigan AFL-CIO to ensure that flight crew can use the recently passed Michigan paid sick time law like other Michigan workers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Mr. Berg? No? Yeah, you are Mr. Berg, sorry. You may begin.
I came here simply to support First Officer Woods, and he speaks for all 80,000 members of the Airline Pilots Association. I have nothing to add.
Thank you both for being here. It has been noted that the shutdown did end late last night. Can you talk about a little more the bless you, the sort of what the lag time will be for getting things back up and running, up and back to normal, or I guess normal-ish, since how many people short, that for staffing levels, that's not ideal. So if you can talk about what your members can expect, what the public can expect, as things, even at that 6% reduced capacity, which is not ideal, but as things get more normal, what people should be expecting, and how that's impacting your members.
Yeah. So the 6% number is essentially the clearest indication that we have so far. It's a good thing that we're not getting up to the 10% number that is kind of where things were headed, I guess. Really, though, the FAA is going to kind of run point on when things go back fully to normal. We kind of defer to them. They were the ones running and seeing the exact numbers as far as staffing in each individual facility, but those things can also change day by day. There was a time in Orlando during the shutdown where they didn't have any controllers available for a certain period, but a lot of that changes just based on absences for the day. So all that we're really starting to see is hopefully things are approaching normal before the holiday. I know that's kind of the big, busy travel season that I can speak for myself. I'm going to be working straight through it, so I certainly hope that's the case. But yeah, I would expect just kind of a gradual wind down of the 6%.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions from members? Go ahead.
Just thank you for coming. So with the 6%, do you anticipate flight cancellations, or is 6% going to be manageable to, I know we have to get caught up, but with respect to existing flights, are you still anticipating flight cancellations for the next few days?
Yeah. 6% is a reduction, so I would anticipate cancellations, yes.
Okay. That's right, because it's 6% of flights. Duh. I was thinking something else on the percentage.
It'd be nice if there weren't, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there's a lot of us flying, a little nervous about it. Thank you.
And if I can ask, one of the things I think people don't necessarily know is that is this correct that for you and for the flight crews, the flight attendants, the folks that the passengers are seeing, that you guys aren't on the clock until those doors close and you're moving to the tarmac.
Correct.
And that it's only
Senator Boyanke?
Yes.
Senator McCann?
Yes.
Senator Boyno?
Yes.
Senator
only having 6%. Those are people who might have been relying on those hours and that pay who aren't getting it. Is that a good assessment?
Essentially, yeah. That one's a little bit harder to speak on because within those 80,000 airline pilots that we represent, we have a lot of different pilot groups within that. So every airline is going to have their own contracts that are going to govern that in a different way. So what happens to the Delta pilots in the scenario of a delay or a cancellation, it might be different than what specifically the United contract looks like. But you are correct about getting paid from the time the door closes to the time that it opens, yes.
If I might, we reference the 6% reduction now, and that's simply where the reduction stopped. And the Department of Transportation's job now is to analyze when they can allow the airlines to begin moving back towards a normal operation. And that will entirely be based on the FAA's ability to staff air traffic control centers and towers and restore the infrastructure back to something that would allow the normal staffing. And something to note is that this was so impactful personally to so many of the air traffic controllers that their retirement rate spiked tremendously during the shutdown. It's something I would like to note that this is something ALPA has been working on for several years now, is to change the way that air traffic controllers are paid during a shutdown so that in the event of a future shutdown, it doesn't reduce safety. And that federal legislation is called the Aviation Funding Stability Act. It doesn't change where the money is coming from. It just changes the fact that during a shutdown, it wouldn't reduce the safety services and the safety impact of the infrastructure that we rely on for safe air travel. So.
Thank you. And so a lot of people chose to retire. Then what does that pipeline look like? Because I understand that it is an long and arduous process, a lot of education for air traffic controllers, also for pilots. What is that lag time between losing that talent and that expertise and filling those spots, or even coming close to filling those spots?
Well, I can say that at the beginning of last year, the FAA reported that they were over 3,000 controllers short nationwide. At this point, I don't have an exact number, but I don't believe they're any closer to that, to filling that gap, even though there has been a significant effort to hire controllers. You are correct. The lag time is significant, and it's because even after you're hired as a controller, there's a long period of training for the specific sector that you go and work on, and that's something that the Department of Transportation is working on. The FAA is working on, but I don't think I'm the best person to answer any more specifics. I just don't have them in front of me. I'm sorry.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. By sector, do you mean like sector within the industry or region?
Each controller operates a sector of airspace.
Got it.
And so
Okay.
that's what I mean.
All right. Clearly, I'm not going to be an air traffic controller anytime soon.
It's okay. I'll see you there.
Learning all sorts of new things. How has... Oh, I already asked that question. Taking my notes here and writing at the same time. Do we have any other questions from members? No? Alrighty. Well, I want to thank you both so much for coming. I think many of us are, probably all of us, very happy that the shutdown has come to a conclusion and that we'll get some more certainty, hopefully for our residents and the people that we all serve. And so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Next, I would like to invite up Amber Hunt, who is the CFO for the Wayne County Airport Authority. Thank you so much for being here. At the bottom of your mic, at the base on the right side, there's a little black button. And yep, you are now wired for sound. Thank you for being here, and you may begin when you're ready.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Amber Hunt. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Detroit Metro Airport. And, I, just like probably everybody in the room, I'm also excited and relieved that the government seems to be moving toward opening back up. I echo everything that the gentleman said. As pilots, well-spoken, and I'm sure that there's so much more that they could say. This has taken a significant toll on the traveling public, on the corporations, and on us at the airport as well. So with that, I would say that from an airport standpoint, it's kind of hard to understand the kind of sync between the traveling public and the airlines, as we oversee the infrastructure, all the funding for that infrastructure, try to make sure that everyone is kind of moving in the same path, and making sure that the traveling public also feels safe moving through our facilities. For us, very specifically, when it comes to this reduction, just to put it in perspective, the gentleman spoke about Atlanta. We have over 800 operations a day. So when you're talking about a 6% cut, that's about 50 planes coming or going, but 25 each way, that aren't going to be getting off the ground. And so, that causes concerns, obviously from a regional level, but it also creates, I'm going to say, exponential concerns about travel in general. For us at the airport, that relates to dollars. So every time a person walks through our doors, we get federal funding that's tied to that for, they're called passenger facility charges. When you buy a ticket, next time you look at your ticket, if you really want to dig into it, there's all the fees and taxes. It's a $4.50 fee. It's used for infrastructure completely. And so every person that doesn't get on a plane properly or gets worried about buying their tickets, it's a dollar for dollar impact to us. And that funding just doesn't exist anymore. So, this is going to take an exponential toll, even if as the skies are opening up, let's just say it that way, people are going to skip going places during the holiday season, and that you don't get to make that up. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to, not go this week, but I'll go next week. That's not exactly how it works around the holidays for us. So we're going to be missing substantial funding. We have about 30 million people. So just multiply that times $4. Is a simple math. So, there's going to be a long-term impact on this, because it takes a little while for people to regain that trust and making sure they get from place to place. And then the second thing is we get a secondary amount of funding through AIP, and that is based on our overarching numbers. So as we continue to, or as we have lost passengers, this is just pure numbers at this point, we're going to see a reduction in overarching funding again for infrastructure. And so, I think that that's important for, from our standpoint, along with everything that the pilots have said. There's so much complexity, and I don't really want to speak on behalf of the airlines, even though I probably know more than I should about, their operations. This has caused just havoc inside of the airlines. I think that all the CEOs have spoken about it. But once you put restraints on this, as seemingly needed to do, there's going to be long-term impacts to this. And so I think that that's where I think if we can, anything I can do to work with anybody that wants to work through this, I am more than willing to help try to figure out how to move our essential workers, the air traffic controllers, TSA agents, if they're, which they do, have to go to work. People have to travel from place to place. That's just how it is. And there should never be any reason why these people don't get paid. It's not okay. I think that anything we can do to change that legislation is imperative. So really, that's all I've got.
Thank you so much. Can you talk about, we know sort of the big, I want to say, like, splashy titles of people who work in our in our airspace. So it's pilots, it's the TSA agents, it's the air traffic controllers. Can you talk about, it's the flight attendants, flight crews. Can you talk some more about who else is impacted, who is part of that airport infrastructure? The pilots were talking about that there was a weather event and things had to be de-iced. Who's doing that de-icing?
So we have contracts with a de-icing company, and it's really a massive ripple effect. If you've got the ground handlers, the people that put your bags on the plane, that put mail, U.S. mail on the plane. The pilots, getting into the details of this. I mean, I could talk for hours. But you've got U.S. mail that's going to sit on the ground if that plane doesn't take off. I don't know what mail is made up of, but I know sometimes there's money in there. So you're impacting the person that's not going to get their mail on time. So there's the ground handlers. You've got the fueling people that fuel the plane. Sometimes ground handle people do that. Sometimes that's given to a different group to do. You have the caterers, so the catering operations. If all of a sudden you're making, all this food for all of these planes, now you've got an incredible amount of waste that's all going in the trash. So that's just a movement around. In terms of from the airport standpoint, our operations really don't change because planes are coming in and going. So we've got to make sure the runways are safe. We've got to make sure that they're cleaned. Whether we're going down with the 6% reduction, they were really slowing down. Part of it was slowing down the approach and takeoffs of the planes. We still have to clean off those runways. So for us, we're not going to just not clean off a runway. That's not how it works. Especially in the snow operations, completely. It's a very, very complex. And so, we've got to do that anyway. So for us, just making sure that, we're supporting our partners with either, again, our grounds or making sure that we're helping to, any way we can, help the flying public to stay calm. That's part of the things that we do, making our, parking easier to navigate, working on those kind of things. We're really customer facing in partnership with the airlines, specifically Delta. Obviously, we're a Delta hub. So, anything we can do to help our airline partners is really important to us. But in terms, and I think I went way off a track of your question, but there's a whole ecosystem of, CBP, for example. They fortunately were getting paid through this, but we, having all those partners and us working all together with that, I know from the information that we received and, my personal interactions with the TSA, everyone was still in good spirits. They were trying to really be helpful to the passengers. And so I want to give, kudos to them. And, but all that to say, there's just this whole ecosystem, this kind of essentially tiny city that lives in our 6,000 acres. And so really every single one of us to a lesser extent, ours is mostly monetary, but everyone's affected by this.
And smaller airports just would be having similar effects, just obviously on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
So this is sort of a microcosm of what any of our airports would have been experiencing or are still going to be experiencing until we kind of can ramp back up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. I don't think any airport out there was not affected by this.
We're there, obviously, we've had shutdowns before. Unfortunately, that is the case. You always hope that you don't get to that point, but that if you do, that it is very short-lived. Was there any guidance that came from either the prior one, most previous one, or from lessons learned from that were provided, sort of in anticipation of if there is a shutdown, this is how we pivot, or anything like that?
No. The only thing that was done this time that then was different from the previous time was the FAA demanding a reduction in flights. That was really the only thing, which was, I would say, sad, because instead of trying to make sure that these people get paid for doing their job, that was the new thing to do, was to force the airlines to reduce capacity to meet the air traffic control demand, or supply, I should say. So, and that's, to me, that's not a solution. We should be making sure that the air traffic controllers and the TSA agents get paid as essential service workers, so. But no, that was the only difference.
Thank you so much. Members, do we have any questions? It's just that we've lost almost everybody. Wow, we no longer have a quorum. So we can still take testimony, though. No other questions? Well, I want to thank you so much for your time. I apologize with how strange this day turned out with competing committees that also were having votes. But thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen, also for your time. And we look forward to things returning to normal sooner than later.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, seeing no further business before the committee today, without objection, the Senate Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure is adjourned.